Hey, welcome back to the Big Ranch Show. Thank you for joining me. I thought I'd do another video here outside on this beautiful Oklahoma morning. And I thought maybe we could have a chat about something going on in the world. Something I haven't been covering because I didn't realize how bad it was. And I think maybe I should talk about it here. Because my viewers at least deserve to know what's going on in the world. And I don't know, some sources can be wishy-washy on where you get your news. But all the information I'm about to give you, I got from Reuters. A very well-respected, media agency or journalist agency, and a few other places as well, including CNN and Al Jazeera. But here we go. Afghanistan has completely fallen to the Taliban. They ended up taking the palace of Kabul yesterday, where the president of the Afghan nation lived. He abdicated his power and ran out of the country like a chicken. That's all you can call him, a chicken. But where does the blame lie? And I'm here to talk about where the blame lies. And you can blame it Trump, Biden, but let's get down to the nitty-gritty of it. For example, in 2020, Donald Trump forced the Afghan government to release 400 Taliban fighters, known as hardcore Taliban fighters within the intelligence agencies and by the government of Afghanistan. People that could make a difference if they decided to start taking over provinces again. But Donald Trump pushed them to release them so they could get the Taliban to the table for a deal. Well, here's the problem. You literally cannot, negotiate with terrorists. This is what happens. But Donald Trump had these 400 fighters released, and then it brought Taliban to the table for a minute, and then they quit, right? While they were saying they were doing this and that, they were slowly trying to take over the place. And of course, they kept being appeased all the way around, and now they've taken over the entire thing. But in September of last year, this is what Donald Trump did. Not saying he was right or wrong, I'm just saying it's a fact of what happened. I don't believe 400 fighters really is enough to put them over the edge as they have done. And we'll get to that in a minute. So January comes. Trump says we're not pulling out in January. We're going to pull out in May. Then Biden takes office and changes it to August. Think it's going to, you keep thinking it's just going to get kicked down the can, just down the road like a can, right? But we started pulling our people out this month, and the Taliban quickly, and I mean swiftly, went through all the provinces and took over the entire thing. Now, some people are going to blame Biden. Some people are going to blame Trump. I don't blame either of them. At least not wholeheartedly. Yeah, did both of them make miscalculations? Yes. Should Trump have tried to negotiate with these terrorists? No. But I truly believe he was trying to get that done so he could get a deal before he left. So he'd have something to hang his hat on. And I get that. But this was in September when he still thought he was going to win the election, right? So maybe he thought it was going to help him come election time if he had a big win there. That big win never came, and of course he lost the election. But then Joe Biden takes office. Had a chance to pull out of this deal where we were leaving in August, and we could have stayed there. But there comes the argument, really. It's kind of a debate, isn't it? How long do we stay? We've already been there 20 years and been training, and the coalition forces have been training the security forces for Afghanistan for 20 years. How much more training did they need? It wasn't like we trained a few hundred people. Last I heard, there's like 100,000 of them that they trained. But where does the fault lie? I think if you ask me, the fault lies with the Afghan security forces. Yes, we have one of the best militaries in the world, but we cannot be the world's police officers. We cannot sit there with you over and over again. Now, I admit, we've done Afghanistan wrong in the past, when we just left here in the 80s when they were fighting with, when they were fighting with Russia. I get that. And I get that that we invaded them to get rid of the Taliban before. You know, you know, and that's what we had to do. Trying to get Bin Laden, we had to do that, I think. But did we need to stay there for 20 years? No. But after 20 years, you would assume that they would have some kind of capability to take care of their damn selves. Now, wouldn't you? But no. What did these people do? Kind of reminds me of the French in World War II. Where they just kind of let the Germans roll through with no question. Yeah. That's basically what the Taliban security forces did. Or Afghan security forces did with the Taliban. In most cities and provinces that they took, was taken without gunfire. Not one shot fired. There weren't any shots really fired until they got into Kabul around the airport. And there wasn't really any resistance there. There was just gunfire of, I think, people of them firing at our troops trying to get to the airport. So I think the fault has to lie with the Afghan security forces. I mean, we trained them for 20 years to defend themselves, and what were they doing? What did they do every time they came up against the Taliban? That's right. They cut, tail, and run every single time. It's absolutely disgusting to know we spent all those resources and all that time training them and giving them weapons to defend themselves, for them to just bow down to the Taliban, hand over their weapons and their uniforms. But unfortunately, like I said, Afghanistan is no longer in civilian control. It's now under control by a bunch of thugs. A bunch of religious thugs who've already started shuttering schools for girls, ripping them out of the workplace if they had gained employment in the last 20 years. And it's absolutely sad what's happening for the people. But at the same time, they should have been able to defend themselves. They had far more people. They didn't, from where the 25, there was like 25 to 30,000, or 35,000 Taliban troops, if that. And they overran 100,000 plus. These people were just laying down their arms and letting these people take over. I feel bad for our men and women that sacrificed so much to get the place stabilized, many of them giving their lives. But it was time for our people to come home. Now, you're going to hear a lot of people on the news saying it's all 100% Biden's fault, or you'll be on the left side of things. You hear it's all Trump's fault. And yeah, I think they take some blame. Sure. But the majority of the blame is on the Afghan security forces, who refused, and I repeat, refused to defend their nation. Letting it fall one by one without even standing up for one firefight with them. Now, I'm no military expert. I was never in the military. And so I'm not going to sit here and really call them cowards. I'm just going to say that they refused to do their job. That they reneged on their promise to defend their homeland. I sure hope if that ever came down here, where a band of crazy, marauding pricks and religious zealots start trying to take over the freaking country, that our military would stand strong in every single state and take them down, regardless of if they agree with some of their views or not. But what do you do? I mean, really, what can you do? We left Afghanistan. There were some problems after all, but Iraq seemed to have held on pretty well. I mean, you had some issues with ISIS trying to get in there, and we came back and did some help with them. And we could have done that with Afghanistan, but they didn't work with us. At least the people in Iraq were willing to defend their country against insurgents. if you ask me, this is just a pathetic thing. It's another one of those BS things going on in the world that was going to it was inevitable to happen at some point. Unless we were going to stay in Afghanistan forever. And we weren't. There was no way we could afford to do so. I mean, look at the way our country's going right now. Think about it. We have all these veterans that have gone to war, they come back wounded, they need help. They can't get the psychiatric help because they claim there's not enough money. Or there's not enough staff. You know what? We could hire more staff, make more hospitals, make more clinics available to these people to get their PTSD evaluated so we can figure out how to help them. For people with physical disabilities, we're not helping them out of the military as much as we should be. I'm sorry, a military veteran who has lost a leg should not have to ask for a charity to come build them a ramp. The military should take care of that at the VA immediately. While they're recovering, that should be being built at their home immediately. We tried to help Afghanistan. We even gave them a constitution. If I remember, it was similar to that in Iraq, where we made sure that the people there would get health care. But just think, for the trillions that we've spent on this war, how we could have been funding a single-payer healthcare system, Medicare for all type system, where all Americans got health care no matter who they were, regardless of their ability to work. And I mean good insurance, where you actually can survive, where they're actually going to do the test to actually save your life, as opposed to leave you on Medicaid, where you may get a test, you may not. We could have taken that money that we've used where we fought for the last 10 years and paid for education, so people couldn't get in trouble, couldn't get caught up in something as dumb as being a part of the Trump cult. So, really, if you ask me, there's a lot of things we can do with the money that we are no longer going to be spending in Afghanistan and Iraq. But the problem is, within the next 6 months, I guarantee you people like Al-Qaeda, the remnants of ISIS, or whatever, are going to team up there in Afghanistan because the Taliban hates us, and they're going to work on ways to commit another 9/11. And to be honest with you, that scares me more today than it did, even shortly after 9/11 happened. For me, it's absolutely terrifying to think about what kind of event they could plan. All because the security forces refuse to do the job, because we can't afford to stay there for the rest of our lives, or for the rest of existence. We couldn't stay there in perpetuity. I'm sorry. But now it's going to become a haven for terrorist activity. And guess what? We're going to be right back in there after the next 9/11 happens. And to know that the Taliban has taken over the entire country of Afghanistan in just maybe 4 short weeks from the 20th anniversary of 9/11. For me, that's heart-wrenching. For those families, But we should have left years ago. But anyways, I just thought we'd have a quick little chat. And I really don't know what to make of it at this point. I wish I did. I wish I had the answers. But I do believe that the majority of the blame lays at the feet of the Afghan security forces who refused to defend their homeland. Anyways, y'all have a great day. I'll see you down the road.